Hey, Ben here from Fit50. So in the last episode or two, we've been talking about energy systems. In this episode, we're going to talk about how we use our calories for our activity. And the way to do that is to have a calorie calculator, an activity calculator. So I've built one and I want to provide that to you. And so in this episode, I'm going to show you how to use it. Let's get to it. Here's how you download the calculator. Right up underneath the video here, there's a link to where the calculator is located online. And I've got the link right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click it. And that link will take you to a location where you can download the Fit50 calorie calculator file. And once it comes up, then go to the download button here and just hit download. A window is going to pop up and ask you where you'd like to store that. And let's just put mine on the desktop. So I'm going to click desktop, Fit50 calculator right there. I'm going to save it. Okay, and then we can close this out. And then we're going to shut this down here. And there's our Fit50 calculator, simple as that. And then it's an Excel sheet. And so if you have Excel on your computer, you can operate this. It is a macro-based Excel sheet. So you're going to get this nefarious window that's going to pop up and say, there is a macro on this Excel sheet. Please trust your source that you're getting this from, or please be aware that there is a bit of code in the Excel sheet that could be harmful to your computer. I promise you that it's not harmful to your computer. I've not programmed this to be harmful in any way. It's just that the program helps the Excel calculations to do what they're supposed to do. So I'm going to double click. And in this case, since I've opened this already on my computer, I'm not going to get that screen, but I will get two buttons that ask me to enable the program to work. So I'm going to go up here and hit enable editing, and then I'm going to hit enable content, click that. And so now we're in it. And this is the Excel sheet. And the first sheet we're going to go to is the total daily energy expenditure calculators. And essentially what this is, it's a series of calculators underneath the glass over here, this orange piece of glass, that are the motor of this calculator. And it basically calculates various things. And the first thing we're going to look at is basal metabolic rate, which is the amount of energy your body needs if it's in a coma. So you have to breathe, you have chemical processes, your heart's beating, your brain has function, and there's the daily energy requirements that your body, just by the sheer mass of it, needs to survive. This is basal metabolic rate. And the most common formulas, I've put them all right here. Mifflin St. George is considered to be the most reliable, but I've also included Harris, Benedict, and Catch-McCardle formulas here, a couple of different ones from Catch-McCardle, one with lean body mass and one with body fat percentage. And you can read through here. Anywhere that there is a red triangle, you can get a pop-up and it'll tell you essentially what's going on here inside the engine, and you can read all that for your educational benefit. And it'll tell you what we're doing. What I'm doing right here with BMR is that I'm taking this formula, and these two formulas, and I'm averaging them together to get the amount of calories we need just to sustain our body for the mass that it is. And that is the energy that we're going to need, the calories we're going to need to sustain our body if we're in a coma all day long. Okay, that doesn't include sleep, sitting, or standing, standing around and doing nothing. That's just base metabolic rate. Then the second layer of this is going to be our activity. And our activity, this is our total energy through or thermal effect through activity, and our non-exercise activity thermal effect. And here's a red triangle here, and you can get some information on that. But right here, you could load all your daily activities in, including sleep and sitting and working at your desk and talking on the phone and driving your car. And it's going to calculate exactly how many calories each one of those activities burned. And it's going to tell you a metabolic expenditure for each one of those that help the basal metabolic calculations do what they do, because there's some MET calculations included in the, when people are doing the basal metabolic calculations, they use METs. And then these other two areas are also using METs to help. do the calculations. And then down here, there's other calculations that are being run. Here is whatever I put up here is going to be copied down here, but it's using a slightly different formula. And I wanted the opportunity to use both this formula and this formula here and average them in and have it enter into here as my total calories used during physical activity. And so that's why that's there. And you don't have to enter anything into this one. It automatically fills in when you fill this one in up here, okay? And here's an estimated activity level that uses either your gender and these activity level factors down here through Catch-McCardle. And it's going to take a multiplier and add it on to your metabolic rate. And it's going to give you an approximate number of calories burned based on what you said your activity levels were. This is much more of a guess than putting down actual activities, but it gives you a ballpark figure, and that's going to enter in here. And anytime that this is not filled out up here, but you do put in an activity level here in this area right here, and we're going to put in right here, very active. It's going to come down here and it's going to use the very active category, do a multiplier of the metabolic expenditure that I'm using. It's going to put in some base calories right here, and then that should show up here at the top. And that's going to be the number of calories I'm currently using based on my body weight and height. So now we got to put some body weight and height in here, and you can see this number start to change. So I'm a male. I am, let's say, 35 years old. Wish I was 35 years old again. My height, 74 inches. And now the number's going to start changing. Watch. See, the number's going up. And then we're going to put weight in. I'm 188 pounds. And boom, that's going to tell me how many calories I need at very active each day with my activity to ensure that I get all the calories that I need to sustain my body weight at 188 pounds. Okay. Let's go over here and look at basal metabolic rate. With my 188 pounds and 6'2" height, I'm going to need at least 1,800 calories to be able to just sustain my body weight in a coma. Okay, so we're already doing calculations just by entering in age, height, and weight, and a estimated very active activity. So let's go over here and I'll show you how this works. Say I want to put in some activities. I've got all kinds of activities in here, but let's just take in bicycling. And I want to choose an activity like bicycling for leisure, slow and light. I'm at 10 miles an hour, 11.9 miles an hour. And how many minutes did I do it? I did it for an hour, let's say. So that's going to be 60 minutes. And then boom, I get a caloric level of expenditure, and this is how many METs that I generated. So that's going to be used in some calculations over here. And then I just substituted the amount of calories that I generated or burned bicycling into this spot instead of that estimated amount that we had over here with very active. So that's how the calculator set up. It will either do the estimation or it'll take the actual, and it automatically substitutes the actual activity for the estimation once you start putting actual activities in. The reason why it's 524 rather than 511, you're asking. Okay, so what happens is we also have two other areas to think about. And one of those areas is thermal effect of food. And I've got some foods already loaded in over here. So I've got some extra calories that are going to be added in. As soon as we start eating carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, our body starts increasing its metabolism to try to digest the food. And so we're going to always have a thermal effect of food. And the more protein you eat in your diet, the higher this thermal effect of food is. So you can drive your metabolism up a little bit by eating less carbohydrates and by ratio having more protein in your diet, and your thermal effect of food or your metabolic rate as a result of eating can be boosted up that way. Also having very fibrous foods in your diet, like broccoli and celery and foods with a tremendous amount of fiber, your body has to use more energy to try to find the nutrients in all of that fiber. Then sometimes it can actually get from the food. So like if you eat green beans and broccoli, sometimes they may only give you a few calories, but your body expends a lot of calories trying to find what nutrients there are amongst all that fiber. So the thermal effect of food can be a metabolic booster. And then we have the lean mass thermal effect. And the leaner your body mass is, you can sometimes get a thermal effect from that, just because muscle is an energy demanding body tissue. And the more muscle we have, the more calories we burn. So let's put some lean mass in. I'm going to put a body fat percentage in here. I have had pinch test, and I have had electrical impedance, or I've had a bod pod or underwater weighing. Those are all body fat percentage tests. And I could put the actual recorded body fat in that I have. And let's just say that's 15%. Okay. And as soon as I do that, I'm going to get a first recorded value of 15. And that's going over into another sheet that you can't see, but we're keeping a record of that first body fat percentage in another area of the calculator. And don't push this button here until you're ready to start your entire experiment over again, because the first body fat that you put in is always kept until you push this button. So don't push that button until you're ready to clear the overall record. Maybe you want to hand this sheet to someone else, or the best thing to do is just give them a link so that they can go to get their own copy for their own computer. And then you just keep this always loaded with your very first body fat percentage. But that's your first recorded body fat. And over here, you'll see that your first recorded lean body mass has been calculated based on that body fat percentage. And your current lean body mass is the same. Now, when we come over here and we change it, say I drop down to 14% body fat, I've lost body fat, and I've got an improvement. It's taken the 15 and now the 14, and we're getting a separation and improvement in lean body mass. We went from a 159.8 pounds of lean body mass to now we're at 161 pounds of lean body mass. The reason why the weight goes up is we've gotten more muscular. Our body fat's come down, but our muscle weight has gone up, and that's an improvement. We want a larger lean body mass because that's a bigger engine inside of our car. So now we're burning extra 62 calories a day just because we dropped down a percentage point in our body fat, which made our lean body mass go up. So that's another metabolic booster. And here's some information on that there under that red triangle. Okay. If you don't have a body fat percentage that you can do some quick measurements. For guys, you can do a waist and neck measurement. So maybe I've got a 36-inch waist and I've got a 17-inch neck, and you'll get a body fat percentage right there. And that's an estimated based on those girth measurements around those body segments. And for women, you have to add in the hip measurement, and that'll give you this body fat percentage. And then that's calculated in over here. Actually, that one's calculated in down here somewhere. So but it's still calculated in as part of your body fat percentage and how it boosts your metabolism. That goes in over here into this lean body mass calculation here. And until that's put in, this serves as your body fat percentage calculation and booster for your metabolism, rather than in this column with this lean mass here. All right, so a lot of information. The main thing is you have to do here is you have to fill this in. So now that we've got it filled in with some information, we've got all of these starting calculations. And I'm going to erase this and go with this very active so I can get a pretty good size number. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that and delete that. So now my calories have gone back to 3,051. And also I've got it set up to where it'll calculate your body mass index. And body mass index is a numerical value that is used by doctors' offices and by insurance companies. And essentially, the higher this is, the more overweight you are. And so what you want to do is fall into a category under 25 so that you can be considered normal weight or underweight. And the reason why doctors' offices and insurances use this, they just need a hard numerical value to categorize you at some level. And even though you may be 250-pound bodybuilder with a 4% body fat, which is incredibly lean and very muscular, because of that extra body mass that you're carrying around, there's going to be some orthopedic strain, and insurance companies want to classify you as to whether you're doing something potentially good for yourself or something not so good for yourself. And they interpret the fact that you're carrying all this mass around as a threat to your orthopedic health over time, that your knees and your back and your joints are going to suffer, and they're going to end up having to pay some kind of payout on insurance, or you're going to end up in the hospital and be taken care of for some type of surgery later on. And so that's why body mass index is used predominantly by the health industry, just to be able to categorize you on insurance reports and doctor's reports. All right, so once you have your calories in, then we have an idea of how many calories per day, and this is right here, how many calories per day you're going to need to sustain your body weight with this level of activity. So that's a pretty good size hunk of change right here for someone who's 74 inches and 188 pounds at 35 years old. And that number, 3,728, shows up over here in the food intake dashboard right here. And basically what this is saying is, with this number of calories, how are we going to divide these calories up so that you get the best effect, so that you won't gain body fat? Instead, you can promote lean body mass. And there's a lot of diets out there in the market, on the internet. And here are some examples right now here. I put some example diets that are most common on the market now. And a lot of them base themselves on what the percentage of fat, protein, and carbohydrates are in those diets. And for the Fit50 diet, I'm suggesting to you that you take in 35% protein, about 30% good fat. And we're talking about omega-3 fats. We're talking about non-saturated fats. We're talking about nuts and avocados and fats like that, because that's good at trying to keep a high enough caloric intake and give your body all the essential fats that it needs to create cell membranes and hormones and all these other things that your body really needs to stay lean, but and enough calories to sustain your energy. But it's not the kind of fat that's really going to go to your detriment as far as the arterial sclerosis or any of those sort of situations that can cause heart disease. And then I'm also suggesting to you that your carbohydrates need to be in the 35% range, but 25% of those carbohydrates need to be in the form of vegetables. And that's green vegetables like spinach and, celery and broccoli and various types of fibrous beans like green beans and that sort of stuff. And then 10% of your carbohydrates can be in the form of carbohydrate starch like bread, cereals, pastas, rices, that sort of stuff. So we're looking at 35% total, but really a very low amount of starchy carbohydrates. Now, here are some other diets out there. And the higher this number, which is the percent of thermic effect, the more you're going to get a boost in your metabolism. And you see here this low carb diet, which is 40-30-30, because it's got so much protein in it, you're going to have a higher boost in thermic effect potentially. And so 40-30-30, you get a little bit of a boost. But I like this one because I like the fact that we're taking in a lot of vegetables, and this doesn't really explain to you how those carbohydrates are going to be divided. And I've got just a little bit less protein, which is a little bit less strain on your kidneys and various other organs. All right, so back up here to that. So we put in our I've got a 30, 30, 40 in here, and you can't click on this anywhere except for in the spots I've allowed you to click. And here's what I want you to do is put in our situation, which is proteins. We want to have 35. All right. And then in fats, we want to have 30. So I've already got that. So now it's changing a little bit. And then down here at the bottom, we're going to put in 35. That's our carbohydrates, but we're going to be conscious that we're going to take in more vegetables than starch. And it's going to tell me how many calories each day that I need to get in each one of these areas. I need 1,173 calories in carbohydrates. And the daily grams of carbohydrates that I should get with this number of calories is 293. So if you're measuring carbohydrates on a kitchen scale, and you're looking at grams of carbohydrates each day, these are the numbers that you should get. So this when you start putting percentages in, it's going to tell you how many grams you need. And that means you're going to be counting the backs of boxes, or you're going to be doing weight measurements in order to be able to take these calories at these percentages of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And these are the grams you're going to need each day in order to be able to satisfy those requirements. And then you could go over here and play with these other two areas. Maybe I just want to put in different calories. Maybe I want to look at 4,000 calories. And when you do that, you can see the daily grams change. And that'll tell you approximately at 35%, 30%, and 35%, like we have over here, at a higher calorie intake, how many grams that we would need in order to be able to satisfy that at 35, 30, 35. So this is a calorie changer. If I wanted to change the number of calories up a little bit, or maybe I want to come down a little bit. So I want to lose some weight instead of gain some weight. I want to come down to 3,500 calories. And now these are the number of grams you're going to need to take in each day to satisfy a 3,500 calorie diet rather than a 3,700 calorie diet over here that's being presented to us from our total daily energy expenditure calculator. And then our gram changer, we can go in here, we can change the grams. Maybe I don't like eating 282 grams of protein, but I want to take in more protein. I want to take in 300. It's going to show you how many calories you need to take in total. And we're still maintaining our 35, 30, 35. And that's going to show you the calorie changes. Maybe I want to take in, 125 grams of fat, and that's changing our calories here and changing our calories up here. So these three boxes on the food intake dashboard are allowing you to do some caloric and gram manipulations to try to fine tune your diet so that you know exactly how many grams of each substrate, macronutrient, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins that you need to take in each day. And then down here at the bottom, I just put in this little study because I thought it was interesting that they locked some guys away in a room and they overfed them. And basically what happened when you overfeed people, that you're going to end up getting more carbohydrates by default because there's usually more carbohydrates available in most diets. And as a result, you force the body to try to burn carbohydrates because they're so readily available in the caloric intake that you're taking in. And that's basically subdues fat metabolism and protein metabolism. It pushes it down. So you're not really getting to burn the thing that you're really trying to go after. You're trying to reduce body fat, stored body fat in your stomach, in your hips, in your posterior. But you can't do that when you're overeating because your body stays in a carbohydrate burn most of the time. But when you underfeed, the opposite happens. Carbohydrate metabolism gets depressed and it stays on this dotted line down here, but fat metabolism gets boosted. So underfeeding scenarios are much more productive toward pushing the body toward fat burning. And overfeeding scenarios subdue the fat burning process. So the moral of this story is eat less. Because if you eat less, not only are you reducing calories, but you're also forcing the body to try to go after fat as a primary fuel source. All right. And then I included this page. And this page, sometimes you just don't know exactly what you're eating. You want to get a better idea of what you're eating. So I've got the USDA charts all programmed into this. And say I want to go from the moment I wake up and get an idea of how my calorie intakes look. And up here, I've got how am I doing on my protein percentages? Am I getting close to my weekly 35%, 30%, 35% in fat? And so what I'm going to do is start going in on a daily basis. I've got the opportunity to put in my foods. And so I'm going to start out in the morning with some dairy. Maybe I'm going to do whole milk, maybe not skim milk, but I'm going to do whole milk. I don't know how many grams I need to put down because I don't know how many grams are in a cup of milk, but I had two fluid cups. Now I'm gonna put those in. And when I do that, it shows me exactly how many grams 2 fluid cups are. So I've got a gram calculator up here that you can use to put your grams in. So I've had 2 cups of milk. That's 473.18 grams. And boom, that puts in all my macro and micronutrients across the board here in this space. All the way down. It tells me how much caffeine or how much sodium, how much selenium, how much copper, how much zinc that I'm getting. And it'll tell me how many calories that I'm getting. So right here, I had 283.98 calories, and maybe I wanted to get some eggs with that. And so I come over here and I put in raw egg and how many grams did I have? Well, I had to weigh that, and maybe I had 100 grams of eggs, and altogether, this is my caloric intake for breakfast, 426 calories. And there's my percentages. That's 26% of my weekly carbohydrate intake, 21%. So I'm not hitting my numbers yet, 35, 30, 35. I'm a little over in fat because I've been taking in whole milk and I've been taking in egg fat. But, and then down here at the bottom, this is my Sunday dietary total. So after I've gone through the entire day and I filled this out with all my different meals and my food intake, then there's my Sunday dietary totals. And anything in yellow means that I'm under, that I'm not reaching my recommended daily allowance of that particular nutrient. So I'm definitely low in vitamin A so far with my eggs and my milk. I need to boost my vitamin A intake. So anything in yellow is showing that I have a deficiency and that I need to pick that up by having more variety of foods. So I included that in with a little color coding, and you can go through the entire week and you can fill that out and it will give you your caloric intake in food for the week. And you can come back over here and you can go, boom, how am I matching up each day with this number based on the food I was taking in? Maybe I'm taking in too much after I go through and I'll look at it actually with all my foods calculated in, and I can see where I'm overeating. Okay, so there's the caloric and nutrient lookup tables as well. All right, well, that's our Fit50 calorie and activity calculator. I hope you guys can put it to good use. Stay tuned for our next episode. And in the meantime, I hope you guys are all staying Fit50.